The crypto market has been punished a lot the last 3 weeks. And you may think that's a bad thing, but it's not. If you like buying cheap, which look, the principle to making money and investing is buying low so that you can sell high. And the lower you buy, the better. Now, if you've already deployed capital and you've watched things retrace from there, that can be frustrating. That's part of being an investor in any market. Happens to me, happens to everyone. What is critical is recognizing great prices and finding ways to take advantage of those great prices. And we're in one of those points that some of the prices on some of these projects is truly incredible. And those that pass up these opportunities are going to regret them. Now, I released a video a few days ago on my number 5 top altcoin pick with these massively low prices that has massive potential for upside gains. Today is my number 4 top crypto altcoin pick. And I'm going to tell you what things I like about it. I'm also going to share with you some specific risks I see so that you're not only going to know what I love, you're going to know what I don't love about it, so that you start to look deeper, not just at this project, but at every project you're considering buying. My hope is that over time you become a crypto savage. That is a savage crypto investor who can cut through all the crap projects, the scams, the BS, and there's a ton of that, and find the undervalued gems when no one is talking about them yet, but that still has a high chance to catch some momentum down the road. I like to think of it as like a Navy SEAL of crypto investing. Why? Well, if you look at like the military and stuff, there's your ground level grunts that just get thrown into the mix. And that's what most people are when they come into the crypto space. And they absolutely get savage. Navy SEALs are highly trained. They know when to run in. They know when to not. They're highly skilled, and they just have learned to make better decisions. Now, as you know, cryptocurrency investing is the fastest way to create massive wealth pretty much since the first internet boom in the 90s. Did you know that crypto investing is also the second fastest way that there is to lose all your money? All of it. If you're here for massive, huge gains, you're in exactly the right place. But are you ready for what it takes? I do have a feeling you might be. First of all, the market has been punished for almost a month now, and yet you're watching this video. That is the first sign that you might be the right type of person to become a crypto savage investor instead of just a crypto civilian or one of those grunts that just gets wrecked generally. Unfortunately, the numbers are quite bad. 90% of people do mediocre to poorly in crypto investing. The top 5% do absolutely life-changingly well, but they do different things than the regular grunts or the civilians do. Second thing that tells me you're probably going to do well in this is that you clicked on this video. What many crypto civilians do is they just subscribe to the largest crypto YouTube channels and they follow along with whatever those channels tell them to do. This is a fantastic way to buy the highs and sell the lows. So let's get to my number 4 pick for massive potential upside gains in the upcoming bull run. And that pick is DevvE. DevvE. But Rain, you just covered Fias yesterday or a few days ago. And isn't it related to DevvE? Well, yes, it is. DevvE is the blockchain token for the blockchain that the Lidcraft game runs on. DevvE has one of the strongest stories in crypto, in my opinion. DevVE's blockchain can do 8 million transactions per second. You heard that right. 8 million transactions per second. Now, when I first heard about DevvE, it was like 4 years ago. And I had a friend call me and he said, hey, there's this blockchain from where I'm at. He was living in Albuquerque that can do 8 million transactions per second. And I was like, nah, that's not true. If there was such a project, I would have heard of it. And he's like, oh, I'll put you in touch with the team. I know one of the advisors. So I was like, sure, I'll have that conversation. Well, I had that conversation with him, and I was extremely impressed. They had been developing in stealth for like 5 years at that point. They'd come up with their sharding algorithm like 5 years prior that could do 8 million transactions per second. That was absolutely crazy. And that they had been building in stealth. So not only could they do what they said they could do, I just truly hadn't heard of them. And because they haven't had a token that you've been able to buy till just recently, most people really didn't pay attention to them because there was nothing that was investable. Now, I was able to invest about 3 years ago. I bought some equity in DevvE, which I did convert over 90% of that to DevvE tokens when the token launched. Now, if you're wondering about that 8 million transactions per second, I will share with you. This happened after I had met them, got to know them, and I was quite happy. They had the capabilities of DevVe's blockchain investigated by Accenture's blockchain group during the due diligence of a deal that was being made with a Fortune 100 company at the time, where DevvE worked with them to build something specific to them on their blockchain that could do 8 million transactions per second. What that company needed was they needed really, really fast speeds to be able to gauge what was happening, something they wanted to track and look at, and DevvE easily made that happen. Now, in my last video, I did cover Litcraft, which has been developed and tested on DevvE for years and years now. Another testament to their blockchain working really good at really high speeds. Now, DevVe's blockchain has massive potential. The scalability of it is huge. The speeds of it are unparalleled, and the ability for it to be regulatory compliant for current data storage laws in the US and Europe are also strong. And yet no one really knows about DevvE. Now, do you realize that at one point that was the case with Matic? Do you realize that once upon a time, nobody really knew what Axie Infinity was? And that was the time that the prices were really, really cheap. Do you realize that most things that later went 100x or higher were once mostly unknown? And you know what? Many people cannot buy projects when they're mostly unknown, even if they then hear about them, because they need to look to the left and right and see lots of other people doing it. And that is never when you can get the really, really high gains. What creates the really high gains is being able to look deeper yourself at a project that nobody else is yet looking at and see for yourself if you believe their project has what it takes to break through from nobody knowing it and get enough traction that everybody is jumping on that bandwagon. Let me look at some things with you that will share with you what kind of potential price potential gains it could have. Now we're looking at the price here, and it doesn't quite show the full price history, but it did go all the way to over $2. It launched, and it doesn't show here, I think on the 9th of February or something it launched, and the price came out at 30 cents. In fact, CoinGecko will probably show that better. So why don't we turn over to CoinGecko, because I like an accurate full price history. And this isn't fully accurate, so I'm going to look at one other place. Here is the price history. It came out at 40 cents. It instantly dropped to about 30 cents. It ran up to $2.20-ish, and has since pulled back, and you're getting this nice retracement basing pattern here. And notice how the declines have slowed to it's trading right about where the pre-sale price is for many people. Cool. Now, has it bottomed? I don't think so, but it's close. Let's go back to CoinMarketCap, because there is some really interesting information I want to share with you from this. Currently, DevvE's market cap is 4.6 million. Now, this is for a layer 1 blockchain that can do 8 million transactions per second and uses a programming language that 90% of the programmers in the world know, using API integration calls, specifically RESTful API. Now, do you see why DevvE is the greatest untold story in crypto right now? I mean, those key points alone are massive. The fact that it's been tested and developed for so long, as Litcraft has been being built and tested and developed on it for like 4 or 5 years now, is great. They've done deals with Fortune 100 companies. They have a lot of potential. You may be thinking, but Rain, what if they don't get traction and nobody discusses them? Well, that is the risk in crypto, right? So here's the potential upside gains. They're currently at $4.6 million market cap. Now, Solana wishes it could do anywhere near 8 million transactions per second, and it can't. And their market cap is at 65 billion. 65 billion. So that is 1,000x from where DevVE's market cap is at. It's over 1,000x. Okay, will DevvE get there? I don't know. I think Solana will go higher in the coming bull run than this. Can DevvE catch up to Solana? I don't know. It does have the potential to. It has a better story. Will it get the traction to go that high? I don't know. Now, Solana is slightly different than DevvE. Even though Solana, some gaming companies are building on it, Solana does keep crashing. It can't even hold the, 60,000 transactions per second that they have sold that is being able to do. Every time it gets close to that, it crashes. So it's not been performing all that well in actual use. But Solana is what's called a permissionless blockchain, in that you don't need permissions to create transactions on it. Now, DevvE is a permission blockchain, which is kind of like Hedera Hashgraph, or another one you may know, which is Immutable X. Immutable X is a blockchain. Essentially, it's a layer 2 ETH blockchain that can do, well, I don't know how many transactions per second. It's a lot faster and cheaper than what ETH is, but I don't know how fast it is. Everything almost is faster than ETH. ETH is just not all that fast, and it is now very expensive now that it gets usage. So Immutable X is faster, though I don't know the speeds, and Immutable X's market cap is almost 2 billion. That's about a 50x from where DevVE's blockchain price is right now. And I think Immutable X goes a lot higher than this in the coming bull run. I wouldn't be surprised if it 10x's or 20x's or 40x's from here. And should DevvE just get to this kind of price, well, that's about a 50x from here. But if their story starts getting told, I don't see why DevvE and their DevvE token doesn't do much better than this. Now, back to the concern. But Rain, what if they don't get traction? That is a problem, right? Projects don't always get traction. And if they don't, often they eventually wither and die. So when you're buying anything that this cheap, there's always that risk of what if it doesn't get traction. Now, keep in mind, the Litcraft game that is built on DevvE was voted as the #2 blockchain game by Cointelegraph. And DevvE and the Litcraft teams didn't even know that they were being evaluated. So if blockchain gaming runs and Litcraft gains massive traction, guess what also gains traction? The underlying blockchain, DevvE. Now, DevVE's story starts getting told at that point, and it's the kind of narrative that can capture massive numbers of people jumping on that bandwagon. But let's step back and be very real and look at what the pros and cons of DevvE are, even though I'm biased. I even have some remaining partial ownership in DevvE, the underlying company behind DevvE. I still have a ton of tokens. I took a little bit of gains as a token went to $1 and then $2. But I still hold a huge position in DevvE. So realize maybe I'm just biased here. Or maybe there's reasons why myself, as a savage, experienced investor, didn't sell all my tokens. Maybe there's reasons because I believe the upside can be far higher than $2 token price from here. So let's look at the pros. Well, first of all, behind any project I like, usually the first thing I look at is the team. Now, I really like Tom Anderson, who developed the sharding algorithm behind it. It is faster and better than any other sharding algorithm that I've seen or heard of. Also at the time, because he developed the sharding algorithm so early, he had a background in gaming and other things and patents. He applied for some patents on blockchain technology, and he actually got some very broad patents. In fact, should they start enforcing those patents, there's lots of other companies that are probably infringing on the patents owned by DevvE. He also developed a way of sharding way back like 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe it was even before that, which was even years prior to many blockchains who raised massive capital in hopes of developing a successful sharding algorithm. In other words, they went out and they did an ICO, so projects like Silica and other projects saying, we're going to develop the sharding algorithm, give us money, and then we're going to develop it. DevvE by then had already developed the sharding algorithm, and they were working on integrating it with RESTful API, which is a very difficult thing to do. It took them 4 years to do it. So they were way ahead of the curve, and yet nobody's really heard of them meaningfully yet. I think that's a strength and not a weakness. Some people just literally cannot buy this early because they need to look to the left and the right and see everybody already jumping on the bandwagon. Cool. Maybe that's you. If so, this isn't for you. It's too early for that. Now, the major gains are made when nobody's yet jumping on it. That's when you get it at the absolute cheapest price. If you wait to buy it till everyone's jumping on that bandwagon, often it's 10 or 20 or 50x higher than where it presently is at. So let's look at strength number 2, and I've shared with this earlier. Litcraft uses DevvE's blockchain. I think Litcraft as a game has very strong potential to catch some massive traction in the upcoming blockchain gaming run. And if that happens, DevvE catches traction too. Number 3 strength of DevvE is that DevvE is very, 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 very cheap per transaction and very inexpensive for a long-term solution. One of the challenges of ETH and Matic and Sol is that still the transactions end up being several cents to sometimes 10 cents or 20 cents or $1, or in ETH's case, sometimes $50 or $100. That's still pretty expensive. DevvE is so much cheaper by orders of magnitude. That really makes it far more scalable than any of these other chains are. Number 4, in the recent Fiat video I shared it there, but it's very relevant here to DevvE as well. They are working with AAA level game integration. Now, many crypto projects have embarked on a journey to bring AAA level games to crypto in blockchain gaming by taking mostly a crypto team with a little bit of gaming experience and building a AAA level game. The challenge with this is it takes years and years to develop a new game title, and it may not end up being very good, especially risky if all your developers are crypto people and not gaming people. Now, potentially a better solution is to likely go to the AAA level games and license an already successful game and bring it on the blockchain, giving the players actual or partial item ownership. Now, there is a massive appetite for true item ownership in games, and we see that with Counter-Strike Go, which has been selling loot crates, and people are reselling some of those rare skins for weapons from some of those loot crates. Some of them go for $2,000. Some go for $12,000. Even some going over $100,000. But because these are trading on Steam, between what Counter-Strike Go takes out of the fees and the Steam Marketplace takes out, you end up losing 15% of your sale in transaction fees. So not only is it only partial ownership with Counter-Strike Go, because they can shut down your account at any time if they feel you are violating their terms of service, that is also a very high transaction tax. And that leaves room for other projects to come in and give high levels of ownership with much lower market fees and to really dominate this area of gaming in the future. Now, we've laid out some of the pros for DevvE. Let's look at some of the risks. Risk number 1 is always how much existing capital do they have? I can't say that I know. Every project has a runway of what are our existing costs, and at what point, if we don't raise additional capital, do we run out of money? Now, I think the team still has lots of development tokens and ecosystem tokens, even team tokens that they could sell and raise some capital there, but I can't say I know what the numbers are. But how much runway do they have? I don't know a correct full answer to that. Secondly, they are in the project or process of raising funds to get those additional licenses. Now, they've already created some great additional license opportunities that they've already lined up, that if they close, these will be huge. But the capital outlays are not really, really high, but they're high. And they're in the process of working to put the capital together for that, but it's not yet done. And so this goes down as a potential great thing if it does come together, but also potential risk because they don't already have those AAA level licenses and agreements with them. So as the general market is bearish after a couple months of bearish crypto prices and a major pullback, it is harder to raise additional capital in this market. And that goes down as a risk. Another risk is with such a low market cap for DevvE, what were we looking at? $4.6 million market cap. There isn't much room for them to sell the project's tokens to raise meaningful additional capital to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars. The whole market cap right now is only 4.6 million. So if we don't hit the bull run in the coming 6 to 18 months, perhaps they could run out of funds if they're not able to raise additional capital through selling equity or some kind of bonds or some kind of other borrowing like loans in order to shore up cash flow and give them a longer runway. And you could have the best idea in the world, but if your project runs out of cash, you will capsize and you will be done even if you had the best idea in the world. Now, stay tuned in the upcoming weeks for my top massively undervalued altcoin picks. Also, if you haven't already checked out my Zero to Crypto Hero course, you might consider it. I'll show the commercial for that in a minute. I just wanted to recap this. So these are two of my top 5 picks. Thankfully, Fias's price has been punished because it came at a time that nobody's talking or thinking about blockchain gaming. DevvE, even though it went up to over $2, has pulled back to a really juicy price, basically a 90% retrace from the $2.40 it hit, trading about 24 cents. I really, really like it at this price. I think it's amazing buy. In fact, I think the pre-sale price was 27 cents. So a lot of pre-sale investors that were able to get it a year and a half ago paid 27 cents for it. So you're able to buy it below pre-sale prices. I like that. I do think this has one of the greatest potential stories in the crypto space. Will the story be told? I think it will. But I can't say I know. There's no guarantees in this space. What I do as an investor is I make potential picks that have massive potential, and I wait to see how it plays out. And often it plays out very well for me. And sometimes it doesn't. So I never throw all my eggs in one basket, though DevvE is one of my largest bags in the crypto space because I do think it's one of the greatest stories that has not yet been told, but it's such a powerful story. I do think this one gets told. And as it gets told, I think there will be a massive bandwagon that people load up on that bandwagon and everybody's talking about DevvE. So far, that isn't the case. All right. If you're interested in the course, this is really to speed up your crypto education. For those that are here and looking to become a savage crypto investor, look, you can just subscribe to my channel. Go back and watch all my previous videos. In over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, you'll be able to soak up a lot of this information. If you want a condensed path to learning it much more quickly, very condensed and targeted towards helping you get it much faster, well, this course is the way to go. If you are like most of us, we came into crypto for life-changing gains, but were you aware that 89% of people do rather poorly in crypto? Only 5% achieve massive gains. And it's because they're doing things differently than most in crypto do. If you want to learn what most successful people in crypto do different, my Zero to Crypto Hero course will show you 5 massive mistakes to avoid and 3 things you need to be doing right. That gives you an idea what the course is about. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you all soon.